Okay, so 3.3, we're going to go over this one in a couple days. Function notation. So there's kind of a bunch of information in this chapter, so I wanted to kind of split it up into smaller pieces. So the first section of problems, it'll say something like evaluate, and then it'll give you something like this. So this right here, this is like saying a function of x, or we say f of x. Okay, so it's telling us it's a function. The x is our input. So when it says evaluate f of x, and then it'll say if x equals -3. So it's asking us to input -3 where the x is. And so kind of the way you would write it is you would put f of -3, and then you also put a -3 where the x is. And then really nothing happens to this left part over here. And then we just do the math over here. So -4 and -3 is +12. So the output is 19. Okay, so or we could say f of -3 equals 19. Alright, so anytime, like this word evaluate is an important word. Whenever you see the word evaluate for the rest of the year, it means you're going to like plug something in and do the problem. Okay? And it'll give you the information, so you don't have to like worry about that. Okay, so then the second you'll have, that this is going to be most of the assignment. It's going to give you numbers to plug them in and work it out. It's a good skill that we need to develop. So, there's a handful of problems. I think there's 8 problems where you got to plug in stuff. Okay. So let's do one more just in case. So let's say, let me go to another screen. Let's say it was f of x equals -x plus 2. If x equals -5. So this one is a little bit tricky on one part. There's the negative sign from the actual function, and then x is also -5. A lot of times both negatives don't get put down. I think this negative sign in the problem actually gets left off sometimes. So the negative turns into a +5. You get 7. Okay, so be careful of that. Alright, so then the other thing that you're going to have is it's going to give you a scenario. Excuse me. So it's going to say let f of t be the temperature T hours after 6 a.m. And then it's going to say explain each statement. Okay, so on this, the T is now a 0. And T represents the hours after 6 o'clock in the morning. So what this one represents is at 6 a.m. it's 58 degrees. Okay, so here's a potential tricky part. So now I have f of 3. So instead of t, I have a 3. Now remember, that does not mean 3 o'clock. The t represents hours after 6 a.m. So this one is saying at 9 a.m., so 3 hours after 6, it's 71 degrees. Okay, so on a number of these type of problems, the number that goes in, like for the T or for whatever letter's being used, I think they used a T for time. You need to not just look at the 3 as like 3 o'clock. It's 3 hours later, or $3 more than whatever you started with, or whatever the scenario might be. Okay, so there's going to be a starting point. So, oops, I'm going to put X. F of 4 is less than f of 9. Okay, well, the 4 represents 10 a.m. because it's 4 hours after 6 o'clock in the morning. And the 9 represents 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, so this one, this f of 4 is less than f of 9. So you could say two things here. You could say at 10 a.m. it's colder than at 3 p.m. You don't know the actual temperature, you just know that's less than. I would accept at 3 o'clock it's hotter than it is at 10 o'clock. It's true, that's what that statement means. It's just written in a different order, and that's okay. Alright, so you're going to have one question that does deal with time after 8 o'clock in the morning. So any number means, you know, start at 8 o'clock. So if it was a 1, you would say, okay, now it's 9 o'clock. If it's 2, now then it's 10 o'clock, and so on. Okay. And then the next one it deals with internet, houses having internet, and the starting point is, it says after 1980. So 1980 is your starting point. So if it said 20, then you would be talking about the year 2000. All right. So 10 problems today, but they do have like the first 8 you're going to plug in more than just one number, so there is a little bit of like work there, and then 11 and 12 are like this last group. So it's just 3 through 12 today. All right. Okay, get this done. We'll pick up the rest of the section tomorrow, and then you have a quiz on Friday. All right, have a good rest of your day, guys.